Yo guys, it's slyroh. You already know that today I'm going to be recapping week 32 of my 2025 video game backlog journey. I have quite an interesting week for you today, so I'm not going to waste any time. Link in the description if you need the full explanation to this journey and all the games on it. But yeah, I am going to recap the previous week in terms of what I did. Then I will dedicate a section of the video and dive into each game and talk about them with a little bit more detail. And then I'm going to preview the week ahead. So, like I mentioned, this is week 32, and something about this past week really started to hit me. I know I've been mentioning throughout some of the videos that I feel like I'm not playing these fast enough, I'm not really sure how this is going, but it really just dawned on me that it's week 32, I have about 20 more weeks of this journey, and I counted, and as you see it right now, there are 30 more games, which means I essentially need to be averaging over, beating over a game a week. And that is kind of how I started to look at it this past week, which didn't send me into a panic. I'm still confident that I can at least give a good attempt, but it has become very clear to me that I need to just, attempt better. Like, I just need to have, I need to try a little bit harder if I want to finish the backlog, which I do. So, in terms of games where we left off, what we've been doing, let's go ahead and update you on the what. That is going to shape a little bit of the narrative that happened this week, and then I have a little bit more to talk about as well. So in terms of new games, I did play a little bit more Lost Records Bloom and Rage. I actually got to the end of the first half, so that is very exciting, and I can't wait to talk about that. The Date Everything playthrough has still been going on my channel. Very fun, and yeah, check it out if you want my thoughts on that. Turning on Pro Skater 3+4, I am going to put a done on. So, part of this process is definitely realizing that I do need to put less time into new games and non-backlog games, just in general. So, I feel fulfilled with my Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3+4 experience. It's actually more about 5.5 hours, but, yeah, I'll talk about that when I get to it. With that, we can cross off the list. What else we can cross off the list is Dante's Inferno. That was, finished. I'm pretty sure I finished that either like the day after or maybe even the day of the last video going live last week. So Dante's Inferno is complete and we can take off those hours. I know the final number at the bottom because we have a couple of more games to cross off this list. So I decided to play Braid and I beat Braid. That took 2 play sessions and that is a game completely knocked off the list. So that is good progress for us. And then I started playing another game, Medieval. Medieval, I played for a couple of different sessions, and I will talk more about it in detail, but I am dropping the game. So, that clears that amount of time off of the list, which I think, oh yes, between Dante's Inferno, Braid, and Medieval, that actually brings this down to 815, which is still a lot, but less than before. And the conversation that I want to have also revolves around dropping Medieval, because I feel like I have been a little bit hard on myself when it comes to dropping a game, not finishing it the whole way through. But, I mean, at the end of the day, video games are meant for fun. This journey is really supposed to be about me trying out games that I think will be fun. If I'm wrong on that, I'm wrong on that. But, I think my worry is I don't want to just be dropping a game for the sake of, like, getting done with the list and having this be a chore. I want this to still be fun. And, for the most part, it has been. But that is sort of my worry when I start dropping games where I'm like, oh, just drop one, move to the next one, move to the next one. And I don't want this list to be full of just, like, drop games. That being said, if I'm not having fun with a game, and I don't see myself having fun in the near future playing the game, there's no reason to force playing it. These games are put on the list because I just thought I might have fun with it, but it's not, like, a guarantee. And so I'm going to be a little bit more forgiving of myself for games that I don't fully complete. And that is going to be a hopeful change in mindset for me that will, continue to make this feel... I don't know, I just want the balance to be where this is not a chore, this is still fun. But if I'm not enjoying a game, I'm not enjoying a game, So that is where I'm at with that. Yeah, I will talk more in detail about playing more games and my strategy for doing that when I preview the week ahead. I'm trying to think if there's anything to bring up over the last week. My job, I work like rotating shifts, which means this past week was a lot of third shift, which is very weird. A lot of the game progress that I made was more over the weekend, which I did not work, and just some of the other days. But like, yeah, third shift's not my favorite. But there was no like life events or anything that really completely intruded my progress. There was a day that I was feeling a little under the weather. I'm not sure if my voice is fully recovered. You might be able to even hear it. A little bit of throat pain and just a little bit of general like body fatigue and weakness. So I don't know what's up with that, but I think I'm already recovering. But that did sort of prevent me from putting some hours into games that I probably otherwise would have. Also, this series I am going to blame for one thing, because I had some time yesterday to potentially start a new game, and I was like, I could start a new game, but then the immediate thought hit me that I was like, oh, then I'm gonna need to play like enough of it to get some footage of it. That's just another game to add to the video, and that is probably not the best mindset to have, because I could have just started it, but I didn't, and part of that is just because I didn't want another chore of gameplay footage recording to be added to this week's video, which is very silly, very stupid. But it is a thing that happened, so it's worth bringing up. But I will try to not let that, continue to happen in the future. But anyway, let's go ahead and move on to the next section of the video. I have a lot of games to talk about, so let's go ahead and talk about them. Yeah, I'm actually, just because I didn't even bring it up, so I'm gonna talk about each game one at a time, and I am going to start with the backlog games this week. And I'm going to start with Neo, because I didn't even bring up that I'm still playing Neo, but I am still playing Neo in terms of where I am. I am I think I'm like level 37, 38 the last time that I leveled up. I'm in the second section of the game. There's like different islands or regions or whatever. I almost completed the first region, but there is a boss of like a submission that I fought for, I want to say like an hour and a half. I literally was fighting for like an hour and a half straight. Still didn't beat it. And just decided to come back later. And that is the important lesson that I think I've learned from Neo. Like, so this is going to tie into when I talk about Medieval. And this can also tie back a little bit into Fire Emblem Fates Conquest, where I feel like there are some times where games are wasting my time. Neo, I spent my like an hour and a half bashing my head against the same boss over and over and over and not making any progress. But at no point did I feel like the game was wasting my time. At any given time, I could have stopped and moved on, and which is what I ended up doing. I can always come back later. I can, level up, get better gear, try again, all that sort of stuff. So Neo has been an incredible time. I've also been... Neo is like... A lot of the levels, there's a lot of nooks and crannies if you're trying to find like every enemy and like every piece of loot and everything like that. I'm just not doing that. I'm basically just going forward and trying to find like progress. I fight enemies in the way, but I don't backtrack and go to every nook and cranny, because I will end up playing this game for way too long if I try and do that. I think I will get annoyed trying to find every piece of loot. In this game, loot is all kind of randomized anyway, so generally, to me, it doesn't seem like as useful to try and clear out every single like chest and every single thing just to get items that I'm probably not going to use. So that has been a philosophy for Neo that I'm taking, and so far I'm not like under-leveled as a result. I don't think I'm skipping like huge chunks of maps. Each level has, or each mission, I guess, has like a recommended level, or just sort of like a general level that I'm assuming that's supposed to signify like what level you should be at or what level the enemies are scaled to be around, and I am consistently above that. So I still feel like just kind of going straight through the game is working out for me. I don't know what that means for playtime. I mean, like I said, I think I mentioned last week, where I looked up that apparently endgame levels can be anywhere from like the 80 to 120. So until I'm around those levels, I'm not really going to worry and assume that I'm anywhere near close to the end of the game. But it has been fun. I think the last time I looked, I think I'm at about 11 to 12 hours of playtime in Neo, and that time is rapidly growing because it's a very, very fun game. But okay, let's talk about Dante's Inferno, because this is the last time that I'll talk about it, because I did finish it. Dante's Inferno is a really fun game. It is not like an all-time great game. but it's not a bad game. I think it's, it's a very good game, and I'm very glad I played it. I had tried playing it maybe 3 other times in my life, and I just never really, had the time or ability or whatever to actually like play it from start to finish, and I finally did. So that is very rewarding for me. The final boss was definitely a bit of a struggle, but I did, I did do it. Yeah, I mean, Dante's Inferno is very fun. I do think it's a game that absolutely could benefit from a sort of remaster, and not just like, I feel like you'd have to remaster and add some more quality of life things. Maybe like slightly better checkpoints, maybe just like a slightly more fluid combat. I mean, there's definitely times where I was just like, you kind of just mash like the same inputs, and you find like the good combos. There's a little bit of customization with like the abilities and things like that, but in general, it started to feel like a lot of enemies felt the same in terms of combat. There was a lot of reused enemies as well, which is all fine and well and good. It's not that long of a game. I'm pretty sure my final playtime in-game came in at like 7 or 8 hours. I don't know if that includes time where I like die and have to like restart, because I do know that some games don't really count that. Also, for some reason, Dante's Inferno does not let you look at your total playtime like on the Xbox. So when I'm updating my playtime for the new games, with like Tony Hawk Pro Skater, or when I was playing Expedition 33, like the way that I keep track of the hours played is on the Xbox, you just go to like your profile, you go to like the gaming, and then it'll have the stats. And Dante's Inferno does not have playtime stats, which is interesting. So you only have the in-game timer to go off of, which I think can sometimes be unreliable in terms of how much time I actually had like the game open. So there's that, but it's really fun. Really glad I played it, and yeah, we have that. All right, we have more games to talk about. I'm just going in chronological order in terms of what I played, and so the next one that I played and beat is Braid. Braid is a lesson on why I need to stop playing puzzle games. But let's go ahead and take it back from the start. Why is Braid on this backlog list? Braid made its way onto the backlog list because I used to watch a lot of just sort of gaming YouTube way before I even started YouTube. So I'm talking like high school, like late 2000s, early 2010s. I would watch a lot of gaming YouTube and a lot of like list-based content, and I feel like Braid was consistently brought up as like an underrated game, or a game with like a really good ending, or I don't know, it was just one of those games that I felt like was brought up every now and then pretty consistently in terms of like, hey, this is like a really good game. And then at some point in my life, I saw Braid on a really cheap sale on Steam, and I picked it up, and it's just been sitting in my Steam library for years and years and years. But now I've played it, and it's objectively a good game. I will say that I essentially used a walkthrough to help me through like 60 to 70% of the game, because it has some very tricky puzzles that are very hard to figure out. Braid, just like with any puzzle games, what I find for me is when it comes to puzzle games is I have trouble like really stepping back and looking at different possibilities and solutions if the one that I'm trying doesn't work. Sometimes it'll immediately click. Sometimes I will just sort of sit back, assess the situation. It'll take me a couple minutes, and then I'll figure it out. And those feel really rewarding. But there are some times when I go through my thought processes, I will try what I think it wants me to do. I will try to step back, and I will look at the situation, and I just won't see it. And there's times where it just doesn't click. I will look at a walkthrough, I will look at the answer, and I will look at that and being like, hey, that completely makes sense why you can come to that conclusion. I just never would have thought of it. Braid is very much bringing up the same sort of things that like Cocoon did for me, where it's a good puzzle game. I just don't know if most puzzle games are for me. I think my brain is just not wired for puzzle games as much as I would like them to be, because the art style of Braid, fantastic. The story is really cool, even though it's a little strange in terms of what it's about. I actually looked at a video trying to sort of decipher what Braid is even about, and I don't even know if I got any real answers. Sometimes Braid seems like it's more about concepts than it is about like a thing, because he plays this guy like Tim, who's like chasing a princess, but you get to the princess, and I don't think the princess wants you, if that makes any sense. But there's, I don't know, there's a lot of sort of vague things in some of the narration. But I do like the presentation. I do like the art style, the music, fantastic. And objectively, I think the puzzles are good. There was only maybe 1 or 2 times where I looked at a solution through a walkthrough and I was just like, oh, this is stupid. How is anybody supposed to figure this out? But most of the time I was like, oh, that makes sense. I didn't see it that way. Each level incorporates a different sort of mechanic to use, and it builds upon that mechanic throughout the level. It's not that long. You have to try and get all these puzzle pieces, and then getting every puzzle piece is what brings you to like the final level, which lets you beat the game. Also, because of looking it up, there's apparently these like stars you can go back and collect, but in game I never would have known about any of that. So I didn't get them because I was satisfied enough with the end credits. I already wasn't completely sure what the story was going for at the very, very end, and the game gave me no indication that there were more collectibles. So I was not going to bother, and apparently they're even harder to get, which, because I didn't even manage to find one, makes sense. So, or even know that they existed, in game anyway, is what I mean. But yeah, so I'm happy I played Braid. I don't think I'll ever play it again. And I mean, sometimes, man, puzzle games are just, there's so much like room for, I don't know, like a lot of puzzle games just look so cool, have such cool ideas. I just wish I was better at them. And that's sort of the sad realization that I'm coming to, that maybe puzzle games aren't as much for me. Am I going to try puzzle games in the future? Probably. Am I going to get frustrated? Probably. Will I find, a diamond in the rough because sometimes it clicks with me? Absolutely, it has happened. So, who knows? I should be learning my lesson to stop putting puzzle games on these lists, but, I did. But I don't actually think there's any more, to be fair. So, maybe I'll be fine for the rest of this backlog list. But let's go ahead and move on to the final game that I'm going to talk about on the backlog part of the list before I start talking about new games. Oh my gosh, this video is getting so long, so let's speed it up. Let's talk about Medieval. So Medieval, specifically, well, alright, I'll talk about what Medieval is. Originally, it was a PlayStation 1 game that was then remade in 2019, and I mean remade is like a remaster, like from the ground up, new graphics, all that sort of stuff. So when I put Medieval in this list, I was specifically talking about the PS4 remake. I did play a demo of the original PS1 on a PlayStation 1 demo disc, if anybody is old enough to know what those are, and that those existed. I actually might still have the demo disc that has it on it, I'm not entirely sure. But you couldn't really play that much of it. I didn't really get like a great feel for the game, and I never played the original. But the remake looked pretty cool, and I was interested. I had put it on my Christmas list for like a couple years. Nobody ever got it for me. It made its way onto PlayStation Plus Premium, which is what I have, and I was able to play it. And I'm glad I played it. So let's talk about what Medieval is. You play as this skeleton Sir Daniel Fortescue. He was like a soldier or a warrior or whatever. He died in like a fight, and then he's like reawakened like 100 years later as like the skeleton man, to fight zombies and beat the big bad guy and all that sort of stuff. It's a very sort of simple action game, like a third-person action game. You've got a sword, you got weapons, you get ranged weapons, you get close weapons, and you just swing weapons, beat up zombies, things like that, and continue forth. There's some small puzzle elements as well, but for the most part, it's pretty straightforward, and the atmosphere of the game, fantastic. I really was enjoying my time. The music, the visuals, it was just a lot of fun. I was enjoying the levels. I probably played about 6 levels worth of stuff before I stopped. And I will talk about the reason why I stopped is because I feel like the game just wasted my time. And what I mean by that is I will give very specific example. The one mechanic of this game that I do not like is that your health carries over from one level to the next. So I finished a level that had like a pretty tough boss fight, so I ended the level on pretty low health. When you start the next level, you're still on low health. You do not start at a full bar of health at all. So, and healing is not as easy to come by. You generally don't get healing until you're like at least halfway through a level or further. meaning that if you start a level in low health, you need to basically not get hit. And I wasn't doing a great job of not getting hit. It's not like I was taking a lot of damage from normal enemies, but sometimes, you know, take one hit of damage here, one hit of damage there, but that was enough to kill me. And then when you respawn with the same amount of health that you started the level with. So, in order to regain health, I looked up some stuff online, found that there's a secret wall in like the tutorial level that you can break and get some more health. So that solved that issue. But it's still a mechanic that I did not enjoy, and seems like it's only there to waste your time, because there's not like an easy, consistent way to get health back that I could see. And then there was a level that involved going through this whole level, beating up a bunch of these like ants. You had to like collect these like amber pieces, and they were all scattered throughout like a very maze-like structure, meaning that it took a while for me to find all of them and collect all of them and find the right way to go. I was turned around, I was running in circles. You know, it was taking me a lot of time. I was still having fun, but it was taking me a lot of time. That then leads to a boss fight, which there is a healing thing before it, so I can go into the boss at full health. The problem is, I just wasn't good at the boss fight. I got pretty close to beating it, but it did kill me at the end. And then it wants you to do the entire level over again. And that is something that I noticed in some of the other levels as well, is when you die in a level, you have to do everything over again. There are no checkpoints in the levels, there's no save points in the levels. You have to start over every single time, anytime you die. Very like classic, you know, like 2D side scroller, like NES type things, you know, where once you die at a level, like you just start the whole level over, which is fine. But when the levels are a little bit more difficult, it's just not as fun. And it is just tedious. Even if the level is not difficult, there was times that I'm just doing stuff over again. I'm just like, but I already did this. It's not as fun. And that is what I mean when I say that I feel like the game just doesn't... It's not that it wastes my time, I guess. It doesn't respect my time. And I think I've found that one of my least favorite things in video games is if a game does not respect my time, I lose a lot of respect for the game itself. It doesn't matter the genre of game, it doesn't matter the type. I feel like I'm pretty open to a lot of different types of video games. But no matter what, if you are taking away from the fun factor and the only thing you're doing is just not respecting my time instead, that, you know, really, it just really grinds my gears. And that's why I tied how I felt about Medieval compared to something like Neo. Neo, I was stuck fighting the same boss for like an hour and a half, but at no point did I feel like the game was not respecting my time. It wasn't like the boss has like a million HP that it just wants me to grind for 45 minutes. Like it's nothing like that. It just requires skill. But Medieval, I mean, you know, to a small scale, it does require skill. It's not like it's that hard of a game. But just the punishment for losing is just more trouble than it's worth. I think the playtime that was listed was like 11 hours. If it just was a game with normal checkpoints, you know, could probably beat it in a lot less than that. And I feel like some of that playtime is just artificial difficulty of redoing entire levels over because of like one mistake. And that's just not fun for me. It's just not fun. I don't really respect that as a game design decision. I could understand the original maybe having a harder time with like checkpoints and save points and all that because it is like a PS1 game and I don't know what year it came out in. But when you remake the game, you can add a little bit of quality of life features. You are not stuck to the ancient ways of the past, you know? So that is sort of my feelings on Medieval, and that is why I decided to drop it, because if you do not respect my time, I am not going to respect your game. Simple as that. So while it was really cool, while I did enjoy the time that I had with it up until that final level, I am just not going to continue to put my time into a game that is not going to respect my time when I have other games to play instead. So I feel pretty strongly about that, and you know, it is what it is. I'm glad I played it, but now I can play other things instead. I still have more to talk about, somehow, because I have 2 new games to continue to talk about. As always, I'm not going to talk about Date Everything, because I have a playthrough on that. If you want to know my feelings on that, you can just watch the playthrough, but things are going well. I should be over halfway through the game, and things are going well, yeah. But I'm going to start with Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3+4, because I have marked that as finished. And what I mean by finished is that I, to my knowledge, have unlocked every level. I was able to do enough goals to progress to the next level until all of them in Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 and Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4. I am at the point where there's not really any more goals that I feel like I can accomplish within my own merit without having to look stuff up. And I don't really want to turn Tony Hawk Pro Skater into me looking things up and then just replicating what I see. I feel like there's better things to do with my time, but I did have a lot of fun with the game. There's a non-zero chance that I continue to go back and play it every now and then, just as like a, hey, I have 20 minutes to kill. Oh, I could do a couple runs of Tony Hawk and see if I can get one of the 6 scores that maybe I didn't get. I think there's a competition that I only have a silver medal instead of a gold. Like, I was trying to do some of those things, but I just don't feel the need when I could put that time into more of the backlogs. That's just a decision that I'm making, where I feel pretty fulfilled with all of the stuff that I did. But I could potentially put more time into it in the future. I don't see it as highly likely, but it's, not impossible. The controls are, very similar to Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1+2, which I did really enjoy. I think I like 1+2 more, but that is probably because those 2 Tony Hawk Pro Skater games are more rooted in my childhood and nostalgia and all that. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 and 4 are things that I'm not as much familiar with, but I did really start to enjoy the levels a lot more when I really just, put in some effort, put in, some time to just like start learning like how to do things. There are some missions that I don't fully understand like what they want from me. There's a lot of vaguely worded goals that you kind of, and some of them are like multi-step where you have to like go to a location, trigger like a thing, and then do another thing, and then do another thing. Especially in Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4, it seems like. And I just don't remember those really happening in the first 2 games. The first 2 games seemed a little bit more straightforward, and I think I like the straightforwardness a little bit more. But that is just me. So yeah, I'm gonna head and I'm done with Tony Hawk Pro Skater. I feel pretty fulfilled. I think it was a good game. And I'm glad I played it. Alright, and I got one more game to talk about before we wrap up this video, and that is Lost Records Bloom and Rage. And I am going to have trouble talking about this without spoilers, so if you do not want to be spoiled on the game, I would recommend just skipping until you don't see gameplay on your screen anymore. Lost Records Bloom and Rage, I made it to the end of the first half, the end of Tape 1, and all I have to say, and yeah, spoiler warnings, you've been warned, in one aspect, I called it. I said something very early on that I don't think Kat is going to survive, because the game is about a reunion of these 4 girls, and first it's just you, the main character Swan, and Autumn, and then eventually Nora comes and hangs out, and even before that point I was just like, something about the way that they're talking about Kat makes me feel that she is going to die. At the very end of Tape 1, she seemingly dies. I don't actually know that for sure, I haven't played more, but she does sort of collapse. There's a leukemia diagnosis that is revealed, there's like blood, so the game is at least making me think that she is dead. I don't know if that's for sure, because I have another theory that I'd like to throw out there, because the reason for this reuniting of people is because of this mystery package that has shown up. This mystery package says like, for Bloom and Rage, like, remember what happened, yada yada yada. It's very like threatening and ominous, and I just want to take a stab at another theory, where I wonder if this package could be from Kat. Maybe she didn't die, but she was like in a very extended hospital stay, or something like that, and then Swan had to move. Maybe the other ones moved on without getting like a proper goodbye, and maybe this is sort of like a, hey, like, you forgot about me type thing. Maybe it could be a relative of Kat's that's like, hey, you did this to her, I want my revenge now. I don't know. There's so many things that it could be, but I do think that now I'm thinking that the package could be related to Kat, whether it's her herself or like a relative or something. So I'm interested to see where that goes. I am interested to see like where the story goes. I think I had a somewhat of a complaint earlier on where I felt like the group of girls as friends just didn't seem like a very authentic friendship. It just didn't feel like the way that 4 close friends would interact, but that definitely was proven wrong once they start putting together like the cabin and like the woods like together, and they start really hanging out and doing stuff like that. I feel like the friendship seems a lot more genuine. I feel like I was understanding the relationships of the girls a lot more, and it felt a lot better. It also sort of it actually kind of made me a little bit emotional, just reminiscing on friends that I had, in high school days that I lost contact with, and you miss seeing them over time, and you get nostalgic over what used to be that isn't going to be the same ever again, even if you did reunite with them. And so it definitely made me a little bit emotional in that sense. And yeah, the game is definitely doing it's really pulled me back in. It's a lot better, and I'm interested to see where the story goes from here, because I don't really know what is going to happen next, but I'm excited to find out. But alright, that is everything I have to talk about in terms of games. I'm going to go ahead and preview the week ahead. This is probably the longest video that I've made so far in this series. Hopefully you are have been enjoying. But this next week is going to be a big week for me in terms of the backlog. So as I stated, actually, because I have taken Braid and Medieval off the list, I have 28 games left on the list and like 19 to 20 weeks to do it, which is, terrifying. But this next week is going to be big because as part of my work schedule, I get a week off like every month. And this upcoming week is going to be my week where I have a lot of days off. Which means that I have a lot of time to put into games and really try to make progress. If I'm not able to make a lot of progress during a week where I have literally endless free time, then that is when I will start to panic in terms of my ability to beat the backlog, finish the backlog. So I'm going to go ahead and preview some games that I think I will start playing. Disco Elysium I actually installed on my PC. I am considering starting that very soon. I definitely think Uncharted 3 is going to be very soon, because I still have 3 Uncharted games to get through. I don't think it will take that long, yada. There are other games that have crossed my mind, such as Forspoken, such as Horizon Forbidden West, such as Infamous Second Son. There's a lot of things that I'm considering. Life is Strange 2, I think I've been waiting until I beat Lost Records Blooming Rage to start it, but I might not even wait for that. I might just start it at some point anyway. And then Gears of War is something that is kind of caught my eye. There is a remake that's coming out this month. I've gone back and forth as to whether I should just play the remake or play the original. I think I'm still just gonna play the original and see where I go from there. Maybe I'll look at reviews for like the remake, see if it's worth playing over the original or on top of the original. I don't think I'll play it this year regardless. I think I'm just gonna stick to the original. Fable 2 is something that is probably, sooner than later, maybe not immediately, but it is, because I have 2 more Fable games, that is something that I would like to, get out of the way. So I have a lot of options. There's also just like some short games, like I'm pretty sure I could probably run through Tearaway Unfolded, pretty simply. I don't know why this Shovel Knight time is still there. These Uncharted games don't take that long. Ukulele 16. I mean, I see a lot of double-digit hours, Dead Space, that I think that I can get through pretty quickly. So I'll let you know what I ended up deciding for the next week, in next week's video. Also, in terms of new games, I really think that I'm just not worried about new games at this point anymore. I really want to put my attention here. Whatever time I put into Lost Records Bloom and Rage is the time that I put into that. That's about it. And I think really I'm only going to focus on Ghost of Yotei coming out in October and Octopath Traveler 0 coming out in December. I think if those are the only 2 new games that I play for the rest of the year, I'm going to have to be satisfied with that. I would still like to go back and play Tales of Iron 2, only because those 3 games that I listed, I think are the ones that could be in consideration for Game of the Year for me. And so I would like to play them just so I have, true Game of the Year contenders, which would also help for making like an end of the year list and all that sort of stuff. But if I don't play any other games on top of that, then I have to be satisfied with that. I really am going to focus more on the backlog, and I have a lot of free time to do it. So I'll let you know next week how it goes. Hopefully you are excited about the future of this backlog journey. I am remotivated and pumped, and this new perspective of seeing just how many games I need to get through with how many weeks I have has put a lot of motivation into me, and hopefully that turns into a good thing. So yeah, I will, if you enjoy this video, let me know any of your thoughts on any of my thoughts, because I had a lot of different things to talk about today. And I will, keep you updated next week when it is going to be week 33. So that's super excited. Hopefully you are excited about that. But I will see you all around next week. Goodbye.